All right, it's 7:05 by my watch. So if everybody's ready, I think we should go ahead and get this evening started. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month celebration. My name is Shamika Dixon, and I'll be your host and moderator for this evening. I hope you're ready to have a great time. We've got some great speakers, games, prizes, music. So I hope you're prepared to engage, learn, and also be entertained. This evening's program is a collaborative effort. We are co-hosted with the Loudoun County Democrats, so LCDC's Diversity and Inclusion Committee, and we are partnering with the Democratic Asian Americans of Virginia, or DAV, as part of the LCDC Heritage Series. LCDC's D&I committee hosts celebrations in conjunction with national monthly observances to highlight contributions, culture, and heritage of our diverse community and our country. We're thankful for your attendance tonight, and we hope to see you at future events. To start, a few housekeeping items. Tonight's celebration is being recorded and live streamed to Facebook, and it will also be published on social media. Also, the chat function is open and being monitored by my teammates, Teresa and Evelyn. So feel free to put any questions or comments in the chat, and we'll do our very best to get to all of them. This evening's roundtable discussion topic is Asian American voters and the difference they make in today's elections. So be thinking about what questions you may have as we introduce our guests and panelists. Now, I'll hand it off to my teammate, Zawida, to introduce tonight's guests for the evening.
Hello, everyone. Hello, my fellow Democrats. Good evening. I'm Dawida Suharyana. I am the Chair Emeritus of the Democratic Asian Americans of Virginia, and I'd like to welcome to you all. I have the honor tonight to introduce our guests, and our guests have 60 seconds or 1 minute to introduce themselves. Talking point. All right, we'll start with, on my next square is Shamali Hott.
Hi, thank you. I'm Shamali Roy Houth, and I'm the first vice chair of Democratic Asian Americans of Virginia. I'm an Indian American living in Fairfax County and have been involved with Democratic politics recently. In 2019, I ran for Board of Supervisors, and I'm really excited to be here to celebrate AAPI month with you all.
Thank you, Shamali. We'll go next to Delegate Kathy Tran.
Good evening. I'm Kathy Tran. I represent the 42nd District in the Virginia House of Delegates, so parts of Southeast and Southern Fairfax County. I was elected in 2017, flipping a seat that was held by a Republican for more than 24 years. My immediate predecessor's predecessor was also a Republican. I came to this country as a boat refugee from Vietnam. My parents escaped Vietnam in search of hope, opportunity, and freedom. And I was just about 7 months old when we left, and about 2 years old when we came here. I am now a mom of 5, and I see another baby on the call, but I'm holding a sleeping baby, so I'm not gonna move. But I'm the first Vietnamese American elected to Virginia state government, and just really, really excited to be with you on this very particularly meaningful AAPI Heritage Month. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Kathy Tran. Next, we have Delegate Suhas Subramaniam.
Everyone, I currently have a crying baby. Are you coming down now? Excellent. But I'm Delegate Suhas Subramaniam. I represent the 87th District, which is Eastern Loudoun County. It's great to see lots of familiar faces, yay. And one of the highest AAPI districts in the state. And it's mostly South Asian, but in general, it's diverse in a lot of different ways. I'm very, very excited to see how much momentum we have right now in the AAPI community when it comes to responding to some of the concerns that constituents have brought to me over the past couple of years when it comes to hate crimes, when it comes to helping the AAPI community through a lot of different issues they're facing. And so I'm excited to be here, excited to be a part of the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Subramaniam. And next, we will introduce one of our performers tonight, Alice Park. Alice, I don't know, I just sent it. Okay, there you go.
Hi, everyone. I'm so glad to be here. It's such an honor. I'm really excited to perform for you guys. Definitely sing along if you know the songs. Also, if you hear any squeaking, I don't have babies, but I have dogs and they love squeaky toys. So forgive me in advance if you hear a little bit of squeaking going on. Strumming my pain with his fingers, singing my life with his words, killing me softly with his song, killing me softly with his song, telling my whole life with his words, killing me softly with his song. Bow, 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 bow. I heard he sang a good song. I heard he had a style. And so I came to see him, to listen for a while. And there he was, this young boy, a stranger to my eyes, strumming my pain with his fingers, singing my life with his words, killing me softly with his song, killing me softly with his song, telling my whole life with his words, killing me softly with his song. I felt all flushed with fever, embarrassed by the crowd. I felt he found my letters and read each one aloud. I prayed that he would finish, but he just kept right on, strumming the pain with his fingers, singing my life with his words, killing me softly with his song, killing me softly with his song, telling my whole life with his words, killing me softly with his song. Strumming my pain with his fingers, saying my life with his words, killing me softly with his song, killing me softly with his song, telling my whole life with his words, killing me softly with his song.
Yeah.
That was the first song. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
And
Thank you.
one more piece for you guys. It's another classic, and I hope you guys like it. Some people live for the fortune. Some people live just for the fame. play the game. Some people think that the physical things define what's within, and I've been there before, but that life's a bore so full of the superficial. Some people want it all, but I don't want nothing at all. If it ain't you, baby, if I got you, baby. Some people want diamond rings, some just want everything. Everything means nothing if I ain't got you, yeah. Some people search for the fountain. Promises forever young. Some people need 3 dozen roses. That's the only way to prove you love them. Hand me the world on a silver platter. And what good would it be? No one to share, no one who truly cares for me. Some people want it all, but I don't want nothing at all. If it ain't you, baby, if I got you, baby. Some people want diamond rings, some just want everything. Everything means nothing if I ain't got you. Some people want it all, but I don't want nothing at all. If it ain't you, baby, if I got you, baby. Some people want diamond rings, some just want everything. Everything means nothing. I ain't got you, yeah, yeah. If I ain't got you, everything, oh, nothing in this whole wide world don't mean a thing. If I ain't got you with me, baby.
Yay! Thank you, Alice. Thank you.
Thank
That was
you.
beautiful, beautiful songs. Alice always performed for Dave events, the past couple of events that we hosted. Thank you so much, Alice. Now we're gonna introduce Kanan. I see Kanan here. Kanan, are you here?
I'm here.
Okay, so you have 1 minute to introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Kanan Srinivasan. I'm the treasurer of LCDC. I'm so proud LCDC and DAV are joining hands. I used to be the secretary of DAV, and I'm so glad to see so many of known faces. It's the AAPI month, and Loudoun has been very active, and I've been active in Loudoun and in Virginia for many years, and it's an honor to be part of all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kanan. Do we have anybody else? Right? I think that's all our guests, right? So I'm going to send it back to Shamika, who will be moderating the next roundtable.
Thank you, Davida. Thank you, Alice. Thank you, all of our panelists. What a wonderful start to the evening. That was just so fantastic. Great way to get started. Now I'd like to invite Shamali to the mic, if you would, to provide a short introduction to DAW for those that might be unfamiliar.
Sure. So Democratic Asian Americans of Virginia, and I feel kind of, we have our founding member here, Dawita, who's our chair emeritus with us. So please feel free to chime in if I get anything wrong, all right? So DAV was founded about 6 years ago. In 2013, it became a part of DPVA. and was recognized as one of the caucuses. Since then, we have really grown and done a great job of outreach and organizing throughout Virginia, and not only in Virginia, but regionally. So we have become a force throughout Virginia. We've worked on politics from Hampton Roads to Richmond, up here in Nova. And then this last year in 2020, we collaborated with Maryland, DC, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania to do some regional outreach in North Carolina and Pennsylvania to try to pull some people across as well. So we have really become very active throughout the region. DAV not only does outreach and works to get people elected, but we also have a Joe Montano Fellow who works with our electeds every year. And we have a Joe Montano Award recipient for community activism as well. Is there anything else that you'd like to add, Dawida?
2019, we elected Kathy Tran and Kelly Fowler. Kelly Fowler were the two first Asian American women to the House of Delegates, right? And in 2019, we had our record number of candidates running, including Kanan, Shamali. We had 19 for 2019. So
we did.
We're rocking.
Which is really great. And we'll talk a little bit more about AAPI representation and politics later. But I will drop a link in if you would like to find out more about DAV to our website.
Only the only thing I was going to add was, and Davida can keep me honest, I think DAV was the second official caucus of Asian Americans among all Democratic parties, state parties in the country. Is that right, Davida? Correct? Did I remember it right?
It may be. It may be. We were one of the three caucuses at the time. Yeah, I think you're right. Like one or two.
So we were very early.
Thank you. Thanks all for chiming in.
Thank you, Shamali. Thank you, Ken, and thank you, Dawida. Now I'd like to invite Manisha, my teammate, to the floor to provide some instructions. We're going to start our first round of trivia. So get your Google fingers out. Manisha, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We have a star-studded event for you guys, and we wanted to keep it fun and light. So we have a trivia organized for you guys. We are going to keep it. We want to give out some information, share something, learn something through this evening. So happy AAPI Heritage Month to all. So let's start with some Asian American Pacific Islander history questions. So we can scroll down to the first question. We will be giving 60 seconds for you guys to put your answers in the chat. And we also have prizes for people who get the most correct answers. So the first question, in 1849, Chinese miners were first drawn to the US due to the gold rush in California. They became major workers on this project, mostly due to their willingness to take on dangerous work or because of limited opportunities. Your options are A, Central Pacific Railroad, B, Pacific Coastal Highway, C, the National Park Project, D, Route 66. Teresa is the timer, so. So is the 1 minute up, Teresa? Okay, let's scroll to the next question. And this time, let me. Okay, question number 2. Richard Alki was one of the most prominent Asian American involved in civil rights movement in the United States, actually helping to found which of this organization? NAACP, the Black Panther Party, Congress of Racial Equality, National Black Justice Coalition. All right.
I feel like we need some timer music.
Okay, there you go, Lisa. That helps. So I actually officially started timing now. Oh, okay. We are done. So question number 3. This person was the first Asian American presidential candidate. Hiram Fong, Patsy Mink, Andrew Yang, Bobby Jindal.
I can sing again if you want me to.
Go ahead. Okay. Please do not Google the answers. Be honest. Let's have some fun. Okay. So the last question for this segment is the next question. Kalpana Chawla was the first Indian American woman to A, win a Nobel Prize, B, invent a medicine, C, travel space, D, drive a race car.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, there you go. And Divita is going to be tabulating the winner for this segment of trivia.
Okay. Well, we got Pooja, number 1. Number 2.
Like for all 4 questions, who got the maximum correct answers?
It's very tight. It's between Pooja, Abhijit, and Kathy Tran.
Ooh.
So it's 1 each for each number. I missed the number 2. Let me see here. Because it's so quick. I think Abhijit got two correct number.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
oh, that's awesome. So Abhijit is the winner for this segment. Yay.
Whew.
And you have won a wonderful LCDC mask. Not the one I'm wearing, but it looks like it.
Awesome.
Now back to Shamika for continuing with our roundtable.
Thanks, Manisha. Thanks, everybody, for participating. That was fun. I look forward to the next couple of rounds. We'll get a real game going here and see what we can do. All right. So now we'll move into our 20-minute roundtable. To our audience, remember that the chat is open for your questions and your input. And so I'd like to start with one question for all of our panelists. In the interest of time, I do ask that you keep your answers concise. Try to keep them to around a minute. But we'll start with Shamali, if that's okay, and then we'll kind of go around the room. But it's the same question. What life event, if any, would you say politicized you?
So I've always been interested in politics ever since I was little. I mean, I really enjoyed talking about politics and what was happening. Even though my parents were immigrants and weren't really politically involved here, they were involved in politics in India. And so I was always engaged. However, what got me really active are my children. And that's just the bottom line. When I saw how things were impacting them negatively, that's when I really wanted to make sure I got involved, to make sure I made a change and helped everyone out. Because I feel like I can't complain about something if I'm not willing to step in there and help to make the change.
Thank you. Delegate Tran, would you like to answer? I'm sorry, I caught you. Would you like to answer next?
I'm eating some almonds. I'm sorry.
And I can repeat the question. It's what life event, if any, would you say politicized you?
So it was really the outcomes of the presidential elections in 2016. And some of you have heard my story. I was pregnant with my fourth child and due on inauguration day. And so she was just sitting with me, but now she's going to go get an icy for dessert. But it was, when we had her, she comes back. We had her a couple of days after election day, and her name is Elise Minkun. And Elise was inspired by Ellis Island. My husband has family that were escaping anti-Semitism at the turn of the century, and they passed through Ellis Island. And Minkun is Vietnamese for bright bell. That was inspired by the Liberty Bell. And her name means to us to ring the bells of liberty and champion opportunity for everybody. And I made the decision to run when she was about a month old. I realized I had these 4 kids and I just couldn't sit on the sidelines and worry and, get angry by like shouting at the TV and at Trump, but I had to stand up and speak out and fight for their futures. So very much like Shaimali, to me, this work I do is about being a mom to my kids.
Thank you for that, Delegate Tran. And Cannon, over to you. What event, if any, would you say politicized you?
Yeah, like Shamali, I've been engaged or involved or very interested in politics back in India 30 years ago, but nothing. I never had the time, except as the bystander or as an analyst or as someone observing or reading things. After coming to this country about 28 years ago. The first 2 years, I was in Norfolk as a grad student, and I was run over by a box truck while on my birthday, actually, while bicycling. And I had student insurance, but I had to pay 20% copay. And I saw the bills, and it was just mind-boggling. I still joke, but it's true. My nose is a $25,000 nose job from 1993. I would have never signed up for a surgery of that expense if I had known they would charge me $20,000 to straighten a nose. So I knew from that day onwards that the healthcare system was broken when you get that kind of stack of bills. So that politicized me. I've always been, anxious and interested in trying to get engaged, and politics was my way of giving back and being engaged in policy.
Thank you. You all shared, some great answers, and I would say great, catalysts to really being involved in politics. So my next question is kind of 2-part, and anybody can feel free to kind of unmute or jump in. But how would you say your culture or your heritage has shaped the political landscape locally, and also nationally? Don't be shy.
I can jump in first. I think, the Vietnamese American community is one of the more center-right majority Asian American communities. That all of those descriptions make sense in a sentence, right? So they're the majority of Vietnamese Americans are center-right or Republican leaning. And so I think the Trump presidency has been really tough for the community in terms of the discussions and the ensuing divisions, and just like other communities, it's been hard to have conversations if you don't fall on the same political ideology. And so I think we saw that at a rally earlier this year for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, when the pro-Trump Vietnamese Americans came out and got frankly pretty aggressive with us Biden ralliers, and I think that was a hint of the internal conversations and divisions within the community.
I'll chime in next. And the Indian American community tends to lean more democratic generally. However, in the last 4 years, with President Modi, we've had a little bit of our own shift in politics, and so we're finding more and more people are really looking at things. And one thing about about Indians is generally we're all quite political, but not necessarily involved in politics, and getting people more, and kind of, if you disagree, chime in. But I think that teaching or talking to Indians about how to engage in politics here in the U.S. and what needs to happen to make sure our voices is heard is really important in terms of engagement with our community. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, if I can, add on to that, Shamli, you're absolutely right. I think it applies to all the Asian communities. Maybe there are some differences among the groups, even among Indian Americans. There are some differences among regional groups, but overall Asians, we tend to, think that, if you just keep doing your job, your education, and your family, pay your taxes and everything is fine. I think later in their life, they realize that you have to be active. And it starts with voting, being vocal, addressing issues. You may not care about every issue, but even if you care about 2 issues, it's important to speak up, even among families, even within friends. That's important. And that goes to the children too. And, it's encouraging to see a lot of, younger generation Asian Americans being active in politics, but it's not enough. Even if we do 3 times, 4 times of this, it'll be fine. Because if you look at the population, it is the fastest growing, community in the country. But if you look at elected officials or getting seated at the table, it's still minuscule. And we just saw, again, I don't want to say anything specific, but we just saw some of it during confirmations a few months ago, where it can be stereotyped, it can be taken to an extreme, because Asian Americans can be a soft target. And we just saw some of the horrendous, attacks in the last few months. So that's why it's important to be politically active.
Thank you. So that actually leads right into my next question. And that question is kind of twofold as well. What strategies do you think are needed to increase the AAPI representation in the political landscape, whether that's as elected officials or, like you said, just as individuals that need to get out and vote? That's to anyone. Anyone can answer.
I'll start with some ideas. I think, first of all, what Kanan said something really, that we need to talk about it more. We need to be willing to talk about it in our family, with our family and friends, in our communities. And I think that's an important piece. And I think the more representation people see out there, they're more inclined to then become more active. Staffing a booth and having a diverse group of people behind the table is really important, because then people see people who look like them as part of the party and working on things. Yes, we need to increase the number of people who run for office, but I think that in the AAPI community, we fight against the electability dialogue that it happens quite so often, and I think that that's something that we need to constantly challenge people on around us. That these folks are very well qualified, so that's not the issue. You vote for the policies and the issues that you want, and the person that you think is going to represent you best. And I think that we need to continually communicate that.
Just on that point, I believe that that the majority of Asian American elected officials do not represent majority Asian American communities. I think that's really important because I think the electability issue comes up for women and women of color all the time, right? And so, when I'm out knocking on doors in my community, I just say, "Hey, I'm Kathy Tran. I represent us. I'm your state representative. What are the things that matter to you most? What are you concerned about? What are your priorities?" And it's about the ability to represent everybody because, in addition to our cultural and heritage and our backgrounds, we are all, people who want to create a better future for the next generation. And so I think that's really important. I'm going to stop so I can cough, but then I'll come back. I have another thought.
Thank you, Delegate Tran.
If I may add, Shamika, one thing I would say is I think for the community, not everybody can run for office. Right? People, it takes money. I ran for a countywide Loudoun treasurer. It was an amazing experience, but you have to fundraise, you have to be everywhere, and you have to put so much time. I think what the community can do is to be active politically, which means, I know we're all, wonderful Democrats, but I don't care if they even do a forum and bring Republicans and Democrats and then have a debate about issues. Because that way, candidates and political parties can talk about what they stand for. So the community will know that these folks are going to get elected. And if we don't vote or we vote, who's going to get elected. I think that's where the community will get more and more involved. There's election every year in Virginia, every November. And I don't think many folks even realize that every election is important.
I just wanted to add too on this point that if not everybody might be, running for office might not be for everybody, but I do think it's also really important the other opportunities to get involved. So I think earlier Shamali spoke about also like being at a booth and being at community events, but I would really love to see more AAPIs as legislative aides and as campaign staff. That's just another opportunity to get involved and to show the community that we have a place in all the parts of, the democratic process. And by the way, I'm hiring a new legislative aide. So if anybody knows somebody, pass them along. We're finalizing our job description. But I think that's really important to be able to, those are jobs where you work on policy, you provide constituent services. So there's a love of politics, clearly, but also a strong desire for public service. So there's a lot of folks in our community for whom these types of jobs and these types of opportunities to get a little bit more engaged would be a great fit. And quite frankly, I think what we have to address is this idea of, that there are only certain professions that are good for our kids or only certain professions that we can imagine ourselves in. Because I certainly did not think ever about being a part of a political campaign when I was coming out of school. So I think that's the other part on our part. That's the other piece on our part that we need to help promote.
Can I add one more thing to that? Kathy is absolutely right about, the staffers and so on, but also the staff you need to get elected. So if you're interested in that side of it, whether it's fundraising or doing, being a political director or a field director, those positions are really important. And honestly, I tried to hire the most diverse staff I could, and it was very challenging. So I think anytime we can encourage AAPI community, any people of color to work in those fields, I think it's helpful to all of us.
Thank you. Thank you for all of that input. I think this might be our last question, which kind of works because it has a couple of parts, but AAPI culture and heritage, it's vast and as well as the community, right? And so what are some of the immediate political needs of the AAPI community? Are those needs being addressed? And then if not, what can private citizens as well as organizations do to elevate or meet those needs? And I can repeat that if needed. We'll start with the first part. What are some of the immediate political needs of the AAPI community?
I would say representation, right? Appointing, in whatever positions, in whatever roles, able and qualified AAPI community members is something that I think is an immediate need. Sharing power, to be even more blunt, with the AAPI community. If that's a simpler way to say it, is key, because that is when the community will see some of their leaders who are qualified or able to serve and then make a difference. Because otherwise, the community may not say, okay, what does it really mean to all of us?
I agree, Kanan. I think, and you said appointed, and I think that one of the things that we know is that the AAPI representation is increasing at the congressional level, but we need it at the local level. So this is from the very local level that we really need that representation. And that's what builds the bench. And one of the things are appointments to boards and commissions. So looking at those types of appointments and looking at who you have in your community, seeking out AAPI leaders to put in those positions would be very helpful.
Delicate Tran, did you want to weigh in on this, or I can move on to the next part of the
I'm
question?
sorry, I was chewing my almonds. I'm so hungry. Sorry. I think I was just going to say, we formed I think you asked the question is, what are our needs right now for the community? And we, in April, formed the Virginia Asian American and Pacific Islander Caucus in the General Assembly. So there's 5 there are 5 co-founders. And we had a couple of listening sessions and then participated in listening sessions with, there were several with Governor Northam and Congressman Jerry Connolly and Congressman John Byers having one coming up, and some other folks. And then had a whole series of individual meetings with constituents and advocacy groups. And so we're actually pulling together a legislative framework or roadmap, which we intend, which will be like a living document to help guide us in terms of areas of continued need, what we've heard from these conversations, and where we can focus on additional research as we head into the next session. What can we do through this coming budget session? What can we do? What will require legislative fixes in the upcoming legislative session? And what can we work with the administration or the incoming administration on for regulatory and direct policy changes? But with the recognition that, this is going to be the start and it's going to be continued work. So I think what you're going to see are buckets in terms of, we heard very clearly around the continued need that the community feels that we are still dealing with the effects of the model minority myth, with the bamboo ceiling, with just being invisible and othered, and how that permeates throughout all aspects, right? Whether it's education in K through 12 and not learning API history, all the way to how we, make sure that Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders feel comfortable reporting crimes against them. So a whole range of topics. And so I think you'll see that coming out in the next few weeks. And I'm excited about that.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And so the final part, and I think each of you may have touched on this a little bit, but what can, private citizens or even organizations do to kind of elevate the needs? I think Kanan said, sharing power was one of them, but to elevate the needs of the AAPI community.
So I think one thing I would say is, now that I've been in this elected position, right, and seen from inside the importance of continued advocacy. And that's sometimes hard for our community, right? There's still, for many of us in the community, a distrust of government because of experience in our homelands. There's sometimes a language barrier. There's sometimes, if you're working a couple of different jobs and you're raising a family, that you don't have time, right, to do that. And there's also some digital literacy issues kind of all mixed into that. How do you send this email? How do you make sure that you're able to get in touch? But I think it's so important for elected officials to hear from our community And it's so important that the community comes out to vote, because that's how you hold elected officials accountable. And I think that as much as people are able to, or as reforming organizations and advocacy groups, is to help lift up the priorities and the concerns, whether they're small or big, right? And I know if even if it's a small thing and you're dealing with it as a family, you can be sure there's another family who's also dealing with that same situation and more. And so we have to be able to lift up these instances. And if we can't be invisible in that conversation, the policy conversation. All right, I have a very silly 4-year-old. I apologize.
Kathy, one of the things that I've always loved about you is that your children are always there with you as part of what you're doing. So, no need to apologize. We can hear you perfectly fine. So thanks so much for that. To add to that, one of the things that is unique about the AAPI community is, we represent almost like 50 countries, right? We are very diverse, and it's not a one size fits all when it comes to policies, how you approach people, how you engage communities. So you really need to look at what demographic is in your area and how is it best to outreach to them. And, that we found out various things. For instance, in some communities, having our young folks create PowerPoint presentations to give to their grandparents was really effective. And the grandparents would sit there and listen to their kids, and their kids may have been more progressive than their grandparents, but the grandparents went, "Oh, so that's why you're voting this way, or that's why this is important to you." And so that became important. In other areas, it's really about connecting where people are on the issues, just like anywhere with anyone else. What issue is most salient to that person, to that community, and go in there. So, looking at all of us, not with a broad brushstroke, but rather to, kind of really target what our needs are for each of the different communities.
Thank you for that. Anything else from anybody else? All right. Well, great discussion. I think we barely scratched the surface, which is, always the case in these events. But I appreciate it. Thank you to each of you, our panelists. Your answers were very thoughtful. I appreciate your engagement. Manisha, are we ready for another round of trivia?
We are. Teresa, are we ready?
All right. Let's get this party started.
We just decided that we have such amazingly intelligent people that we don't need a minute. So 30 seconds for your responses. The first question in our political and general knowledge category is, how many AAPI regions are there? Brilliant.
Oh, crap. How do I...
Awesome. So going to the next question, which of the following countries fall in 2 different continents, officially fall in 2 different continents? Timer.
Hold on. Oh, man. I don't know why it didn't restart it. So all right, I'm going to turn on the music while I figure it out.
I think that should be good. Okay, to the next question. The first woman head of state was elected in this country. Do we have the time? Okay, we can do this.
All right. Oh, crap. Why doesn't it stop? I'm sorry, guys. There we go.
No worries. I have
Is it
10,
yeah,
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Okay. Name the tallest mountain in Asia. Do we have a timer? No? Okay.
I'm trying to figure it out. A lot of
Fine. Okay. Eight, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Do we have a winner for this segment, Rita?
Yeah, okay. So we have Alice, Kathy Tran, and Abhijit tied. One question each. No one got it right for the number of, was it the number of state or something?
The region, the AAPI regions, number of regions?
Yeah, 48. Is that 48?
Yeah, it's 48.
Yeah. Okay, I don't think anybody got it correctly.
Do we have a tiebreaker question?
We do have a tiebreaker question. Can we go to the question, slide number 22?
Okay, let me hold on. It's Kanan, Kathy Tran, and Alice.
We have a tiebreaker question. I can just read the question while Teresa figures it out. Asian American women won the right to vote in US in the year of 1920, 1952, 1926, 1931.
Okay, Alice got it.
Okay.
All right, the winner is Alice.
Yay, we have a winner. All right.
This wonderful mask. And if I didn't mention it before, not only is it amazing, it's got the year and the LCDC stuff on it, they are also union made. So if you could please send me your address in the private chat, we will make sure to get that out to you.
Lisa, you are echoing for some reason. There's an echo for some reason.
I'm sorry. I don't know how to fix that.
That's okay. That's fine. All right. I will see you guys again in a bit.
All right. Thanks, Manisha. Thanks, Lisa. Thanks, everybody, for playing. So now I'll hand off to Kenan to provide an update on COVID and some of the impacts it's had on India.
Yeah, it's just been particularly from India, right? So, every country is impacted, obviously, but India had a very severe second wave for a lot of reasons. I think they lowered the guard and they thought that things were getting better because they had very low infection for a longer period. And I think nobody is immune to this second wave. We saw a smaller second wave, but their second wave was really, really horrible because there were mutations which were much easier to pass from people to people, and these things take time to study. So before they could even recover about it, they could even realize what was going on. I think it became spread everywhere. So as I said in the last LCDC meeting, I'm a treasurer of my wife's alumni association from the Institute of Technology, and they've got two nonprofits, Capital AAPI and Wheels. So we had been raising some funds, and collecting not only funds but also finding resources, and it was such a unbelievable experience trying to find oxygen concentrators. Some simple issue of the voltage from here to India was different. Dealing with manufacturers, dealing with suppliers, wholesalers, price gouging was unbelievable. The unit went from $400 to $700 within a matter of days or hours, and you still can't get hold of units. It was just bizarre. And there were a lot of other initiatives also. It was not just oxygen concentrators, but also telemedicine. And there are many groups. I mean, we were a small group doing this, to be frank. There were groups that have raised millions and have sent, amazing number of equipment and PPE, and also any type of help. In fact, the company that I just joined, Think Food Group, Chef Jose Andreas, we have a sister organization called World Central Kitchen. And they started doing meals in India for frontline workers through Chef Sanjeev Kapoor in India. And they're doing 20,000 meals a day. And they went from 0 to 10,000 meals, and from 10,000 meals to 20,000 meals. And they cater these to hospital workers in Bombay, Delhi, Ahmedabad, many towns and cities. So there are so many wonderful organizations that, like I said in the LCDC meeting, if you know someone from India, particularly, please call them if you can, because I'll tell you, just that comfort of talking to someone is a big difference. Because I was struggling and fearful of calling anyone in India for a couple of weeks, because every day I would call, or my wife would call, we would find somebody who's in trouble. Either they're impacted or they passed away. I lost my father-in-law like the first wave. My wife's father passed away. That was done in 4 days' time. None of us could go. My sister couldn't go. It was a 3-minute funeral through WhatsApp. And the priest was very kind to do that. And then we lost a close friend in San Jose. She was gone, 51 years old. Mild asthma, mild diabetes, gone in 5 days. And it's just horrendous. I mean, it just goes on and on. And you multiply it by 1,000 times. So one of the things, Senator Mark Warner was nice enough to have a round table. And I was fortunate to be on the panel last Friday in Ashburn. And one of the points that I had an opportunity to speak for a few minutes that I made was nobody is safe unless everybody is safe. It's extremely important that the world community comes together and then, puts this thing out completely. There's a lot of issues going on with vaccine production, with vaccine distribution. It's going to be extremely important to do it very quickly. Time is of essence. Because the more we drag this thing out, with all the bottlenecks with the big pharma companies, licensing, liability issues, IP issues, it's very complicated. And there are lawyers all over the place. There are, smart, people who advocate, but it's extremely a landmine. But the sooner, my point was, the sooner the U.S. provides, moral and also, global leadership, none of us are safe, because any mutation can happen anywhere. And vaccination is the only protection that we have. So thanks for giving me the time, but it's been an unbelievable experience. But things are getting better there, even though it's slightly, but it's certainly turning around. Corner, it looks like it. And hopefully, the foreign minister of India is right now here in DC, in New York and DC. He's going to be meeting with the Secretary of State this Friday, Blinken, and they've got a series of meetings. Hopefully, they will come to some agreement. Hopefully, there will be more announcements coming about how US is going to help not just India, but every other needy country. It's not just giving vaccines to India. And we have to give vaccines to a lot of countries that are in need. It can be an exclusive club or group of countries that have the first access to vaccines. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. My thoughts and prayers are definitely with India. And I think if anyone on the call is of praying people, I would ask that you all continue to keep them in your hearts and prayers as well.
Thank you, Shem.
All right. So I think we have, we're going to cut one round of trivia. So I'll go over to you, Manisha. We'll do a round of trivia, and then we'll have a musical number from Pooja, a guest that is also going to provide us some entertainment. So over to you, Manisha.
All right. Teresa, are you ready? Okay. Teresa?
Yes.
Okay, so we have the cultural piece now. Where does kimchi originate? China, India, Korea, Indonesia. Your time starts now.
Pick a different timer, so let's see if this one works.
Okay. Next question. Where does mooncake originate? China, India, Japan, Korea, Indonesia, or Taiwan?
Issues and goals, including criticizing FCPS and school board for anything having to do with critical
Okay, next. Where is the kabaya worn? Indonesia, Vietnam, China, or Nepal? I think you stopped it. Okay. Okay, the last question for this section of trivia. Where is the Hohai worn? China, Vietnam, Armenia, Syria.
wanted to do.
Okay, so Divita, do we have a winner?
Of course, Delegate Kathy Tran.
I did see.
She got everything corrected. First one, most of 3 answers.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Full marks on the cultural zone to Kathy Tran. Thank you so much. Back to you, Shamika.
And as our final gift for the evening, we have a $15 gift card to Apple. So congratulations. Please send me your address that you would like that mailed to.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
There's more to say on that, but just wanted to give a point as to what some other tactics have been very recently.
All right. Thanks to everyone for playing. Up next, we have a musical selection from Pooja Ganesh. And just to tell you a little bit about Pooja, she's a singer, dancer, and blogger from the DMV area. She's performed for various causes and fundraisers, children's education, the Organization of Rare Diseases, and in cultural programs around the world. Some of her accomplishments include performing with international artists, singing for Radio Zindagi, performing her solo dance debut in India in 2017, winning Miss India DC in 2017, and performing in a dance tour in multiple cities in India. She recently received her master's from Georgetown University and is currently working as a cybersecurity analyst. Pooja will be singing a song, Koi Yanan. I'm gonna let someone else pronounce that, from the film Disco Dancer. Over to you, Teresa.
It is Koi Haha Nache Nache. Shamika, could you share the file?
Yeah, my file wasn't working. I apologize.
Okay, let me.
Necessary, but to just sort of plan and put that together.
I can do that.
Ideally, as many FCDC members as possible.
Sorry, guys. As usual, technical issues. We have to have one of this in every Zoom.
Getting the word out about the rally. But basically, the reason for that, in part, is because they had a big, loud, annoying rally at one of the recent school board meetings.
Would you like to listen to some more free trivia music?
I have it, Manisha. If you're ready, I can go ahead and hit play.
You want to share your screen?
कोई यहाँ आह नची नची, कोई वहाँ आह नची नची, सारे हंसी आह नची नची, सारे जवां आह नची नची, ओ ओ ओ ओ कोई यहाँ आह नची नची, कोई वहाँ आह नची नची, सारे हंसी आह नची नची, सारे जवां नची नची, आओ आओ तुमसे प्यार आओ आओ, मानो न मेरे यार आओ आओ, तुमसे प्यार। दिल को चलाना नहीं, कुछ भी छुपाना नहीं, झूठा बहाना बैंग बैंग, इतनी खुशी है यहाँ जिसका ठिकाना नहीं, लूटो खजाना बैंग बैंग, कहीं शमा नची नची, कहीं धुआं नची नची, सारे हंसी nachi nachi, sare jawan nachi nachi. Awa awa, tumse pyar awa awa, mano na mere yaar awa awa, tumse pyar.
All right.
Awesome. It's hard to believe she's a cybersecurity specialist too.
Woman of many talents.
Yeah, brain
right.
and beauty, right? Yeah, talented girl.
All right. So we have gone through all of our trivia, and I think we are wrapping up. So Teresa, I'm going to hand off to you for any closing comments.
Yeah, so thank you guys so much for making our AAPI month so spectacular. Thank you to all of our guest speakers. Thank you to all of our, yay, oh my God, it's so adorable. Thank you to all of our, musical guests. We really are trying to make sure that we celebrate all parts of the Democratic Party, especially in Loudoun County with us having such a diverse population. We just want to ensure that everybody gets a chance to basically meet their neighbors, meet the people who are serving us as elected officials, and then also just get a little bit more, educated about the cultures that are around us. We've got so many amazing cultures around us. So again, I just want to thank you all. Thank you, Delegate Tran and your adorable children. Thank you, Cannon. Thank you. And I don't want to mess up your name, but Shamalia. So if I messed up, sorry. And also from LCDC to DOV, you guys, thank you so much for collaborating with us. We are looking forward to being able to do this on so many other levels. This is amazing. So for people who are watching, thank you guys. If you guys stay tuned for next month, we want to really keep this going. And then also if you have any ideas or would like to participate, feel free to take a look at our website, loudouncounty.org, and the DOV website. I'll have somebody drop that back into the chat. Again, thank you so much. And remember to vote. Bye, you guys.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night. Thank you.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Bye, Delegate Tran.
Bye, Kathy. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.